Welcome, everyone, to the Ward 1 Community Meeting for Monday, December 11th, 2023. And tonight we have guest presenters from the Fitchburg Public Schools. We have Superintendent John Thompson, and we have Director of Human Resources, Carrie Fabali. So we're going to start tonight with John, and he's got a presentation for us to enjoy. So, John, take it away.
Absolutely, and at any time, if anyone would like to ask a question, please do so. I don't want to hog the airtime. So, good evening, everyone. John Thompson, the new superintendent of Fitchburg Public Schools. This evening, I'd like to talk a little bit about who I am as an educator, talk a little bit about my entry plan that I'm implementing my first year as superintendent, and then we have Carrie Fabali here, our HR director, here to talk a little bit about our HR initiatives that we have going on in the district. So, starting off for talking a little bit about who I am. This is my 23rd year in education. I started off 23 years ago as a paraprofessional and put myself through college. I grew up in a single-family household with my mom. It was my mom and I. She raised me, and she worked at least 60 hours a week to put me through college. Without her, I would not be where I am today. In addition to that, education really is what set me apart from a lot of opportunities that I had. Without education, again, I wouldn't be here where I am today. And my teachers really supported me and gave me the foundation that I needed to be successful. So that's one of the main reasons why I went into education. So that being said, graduated high school, worked my way through college as a paraprofessional, different summer school programs, and then got my first teaching job. Was a teacher for 7 years, and then moved up to administration here in the Fitchburg Public Schools as an assistant principal at South Street, then as the principal of South Street Elementary, and then 4 years ago moved upstairs as an assistant principal, and now currently am the superintendent.
Assistant superintendent.
Assistant superintendent, and now superintendent of the Fitchburg Public Schools. So, in the center is my family. That's really my why and what I do. I have a son that just graduated high school last year, and he is currently taking a gap year and working, learning what it's like to be a 9-to-5 employee. And then my youngest is currently a 7th grader and is enjoying snowboarding at this moment right now. And then my wife is actually also an educator in a local school district nearby. So that's just a little bit about me and who I am as an educator and as a person. So my entry plan this year, I'm fortunate to be taking part in the new superintendent's induction program that's offered by the Department of Education in addition to the Mass Association of School Superintendents. So this program is a 3-year program, and I meet monthly right now with 35 other new superintendents in the state of Massachusetts. And each month we have a full day workshop going over different needs of the superintendent or the superintendency. And what I'm really enjoy is I'm currently partnered up with a retired superintendent that just retired this past school year, and she's my superintendent's coach. So she actually provides me with 6 hours of on-the-spot training in the district each month. So she comes to Fitchburg and shadows me during my superintendent visits to schools, during my meetings, during school committee meetings. She was here earlier this year. So she is just helping me and coaching me through my first year as a superintendent. In addition to that, this program actually lasts 3 years, so I will have the same coach for the next 2 years after this, and she'll continue to support me throughout my first 3 years as superintendent. One of the pieces that I have to do this year is called an entry plan. So an entry plan is a 3-step plan on collecting data, looking at the patterns and trends from that data, and then going and presenting that information to the school committee, in addition to the teachers and the community, on exactly what needs to be change in our system to meet the needs of our students. So currently right now I'm in the first process, and actually ending the first process. I was collecting the data, so I was actually doing different forums, different surveys I had parents in the community and students and teachers fill out, and just looking at all the different data points that I had here in Fitchburg. And I collected all that data, and now during the month of December and January, I'm going to actually be examining the data that I found from all the reports that I looked at, in addition to the survey data that I collected from my surveys that I put out to the community to complete, in addition to the survey results that I received from the forums that I held. So during December and January, I'll be doing that, and then in February, I'll come back, present the findings to the community, and then we'll be looking at that from February all the way to the summer to really craft our district strategic plan and make changes to it to really meet the needs of our students. So that's my entry plan. And then part of the discussion, all the different forums I've been meeting with students, with parents, with community members, in addition to the surveys that I've put out there, have been based on these 5 questions. So the 5 questions that I've been asking to gain information on are: what are the strengths of the Fitchburg Public Schools in our community? What are the greatest challenges keeping Fitchburg Public Schools students from performing at their highest levels? What must we protect or sustain in our system? What are our biggest opportunities for growth? And then as we think about our schools in the next 5 to 10 years, what should our goals be for the future? So these 5 questions are what I've been asking and are really the basis of the surveys that I put out. Currently, I have about 300 responses from family members, which has been great. I am going to keep this open for several additional weeks to get more information from our community. If we do have time later on tonight, I can open this up for discussion and get people's feedback too. I think that is all for me. I know I went over fast, but if anyone has any questions specific to what I went over, please, you can ask now. We can wait until after Carrie is finished presenting. But Carrie Fabali, our HR director, will talk a little bit about our human resource department.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. We are a human resources department of 4. We have just added a 4th staff member. When I worked here 3 years ago, we were a human resources department of 2, so we've grown. So we're hoping to provide more services to our current staff and be able to go out and recruit. These are some of the numbers that we have right here. My glasses are good, but I can't read them all. We've had 976 applicants hired between 7/1 and today. I just ran that today. So we are processing people at breakneck speed, and this has to do with these are some temporary positions, athletic department, coaches, things like that. So it's a lot of people, but this is what we do on a daily basis. You can see where the spikes are. August was obviously a big spike, getting all the new teachers and paraprofessionals in. And then we have a breakdown of what people do opt to voluntarily give us this information. The 3 charts on the bottom are ethnicity, race, and gender. These are all voluntary in the applicant process. We do collect that data on the back end once they become our employees. So this kind of is our breakdown. Sometimes they don't, sometimes there's no answer because they just don't want to put that on their application side, but we do have that information on the once they're employed. If there are any questions on that, we can go to the next one. Okay, forgive me, I always forget. This This is the data that we get from DESE that they collect for us, but this public can't see this, right, John?
No, this is our internal data that we actually pull from our Aspen X2 system. So this is the data that is from our,
What we report to DESE.
we report to DESE, yes. Yep.
So we have active staff by school. Our number of active staff is 740. Our retention rate is 86. We would definitely like to put that at a higher retention rate. Active staff by job category. We have instructional staff. There are, 440. Paraprofessional, 123. You can, I think, I'm not sure how well you guys
I
can
don't
see
think
it.
they
That
can
one's
see
actually
it,
better.
it's small. Yeah.
It's small. This is something we can share out, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then staff by subject area on the right is what they teach. Staff attendance rate is actually quite high at 91%. Active staff by race and ethnicity, you can see white is 630, Hispanic 73, African American 23, Asian 10, and multi-race non-Hispanic 4.
So,
Questions?
Yes, one thing I like about our mayor-elect is she's gone to other communities, Pittsville being one, to see how they do things and learn best practices. And I'm wondering, have you gone to any schools like Worcester that have done a really bang-up job at diversifying their staff?
I actually am a member, and our last slide, I think, shows it. I'm a member of Massachusetts Association of School Personnel Administrators, and we have monthly meetings, and we have a listserv, and I am in close contact. Not so much Worcester. Good friends of mine work in Framingham, and we are constantly sharing best practices. Framingham has some dual language programs. Framingham has a couple of other outreach opportunities, and I work very closely with them quite often. So that's just one of our more local. I can skip to our last recruitment fair. I'm working with, because I'm part of MASPA, and I've actually been an officer with them on the board, we're working on a local regional hiring fair in the spring. They had one last year. It was held at Ash West, and I believe we're going to have it at Neshoba this year. So we are constantly, it's difficult because we steal from each other. We try not to steal the other teachers, but we steal our ideas and we share them. So there are a lot of different programs. And now that we have another person in the office who has worked for Mount Wachusett and done some pipeline, and we're going into negotiations. That has been something that the union has really pushed for us to build a pipeline. And so we're hoping to build a pipeline from our paraprofessionals into our teachers. And hopefully, even for, at the beginning, getting our students to go into the paras to follow them along.
Carrie, I have a question about, as a follow-up to the diversity question. Now, we've got a high number of Hispanic students, and also there's a percentage of black students. We don't have the staff to match the student population. Have you considered incentives like signing bonuses, discounted rents? There's a whole host of things that some districts have done. I was looking recently, we did a workshop on a organization out in Kansas City, Missouri that they were called Teachers Like Me, that offered those incentives. They were actually building a building so that new teachers could come and actually live there at discounted rents so they could get established, and we could, they could retain those teachers and administrators. So
That's a big one, and that would be across the board. I mean, that's not something just the school district. We'd have to have a partnership. But there are incentives that we've always talked about. We have to go through negotiations. We want to make sure that we're not just luring people in as the new teachers.
no, you need to retain them as
We
well.
also have to retain. So there's a give and take and a nice balance of that. So we try to plan those things out thoughtfully so that we do it, we roll it out
And
properly.
you had a new teacher project last year. I guess the grant was up like $25,000, but $25,000 is not going to bring in attract the number of teachers and administrators you knew that would, because it's shown that if a by the third grade, if a minority student sees a teacher that looks like them, they're more likely to succeed.
And really, the shortage nationally really hinges on the fact that there aren't enough college students going into education, and we don't have control over that. So that piece of getting our paras, encouraging them to go to school, and working with them out and having the opportunity where, we're fortunate in the state that if you're over 25, you can get your associate's degree. I believe it's free, so and then at a discounted rate because it's a community college. And those pathways, and we need to open up those pathways and show those to our students so that we can build. We don't have enough students in the college programs going to want to teach. So
Yeah, we have to go after them, though.
we have to start young. We have to start. I started out as a teacher, and I remember my students would always ask, "Why do you want to be a teacher? Aren't you always poor?" We have to change that narrative. We ended up in a good spot, and they don't necessarily see that.
Well, the path that the superintendent described for himself,
Absolutely.
starting as a paraprofessional,
Exactly.
is a great way to get into education and to really know whether or not you want to stay.
And you don't have, and you can be a teacher for 30 years, or you can do, and he and I sort of mirror that. I started out as a paraprofessional, I became a teacher, and then I went into HR. There are different avenues that you can still make a difference.
Yes.
Just add a couple things. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to is working with the new city administration, Sam, and your new elected officials. One of the things that I'm reading is any department can't do this alone in the city. If we want to recruit and really retain diverse staff that look like our students, it can't just be the school department. We have to collaborate with the city, our city officials, to actually create programming in the city, right, that supports housing, that supports pathways for them to continue growing professionally in their education. We're fortunate to have Fitchburg State down the road.
Exactly.
Are we able to actually come up with some programming where maybe we offer a discounted rate for housing for their first 5 years and also offer a discounted rate on their master's degree, and then in return they maybe have to stay with us for so many years after that.
Exactly.
It just can't be us thinking about that. I think it has to be collectively us working together.
I've been thinking about it, John.
And I've been thinking about it too. And I think another thing too is how do we support those people who come in that don't actually look like Fitchburg? How does the actual city support them so they stay here?
It has to be a collaborative
Has to be a
effort with the
collaboration.
nonprofits in this,
Exactly.
in this area as well.
So, I'm looking forward to that and working with the new administration. One of the things that I'm happy, it's a little piece. We're going to be starting in the fall of next year a pathway program for any current paraprofessional in our district who has a 2-year degree. We are going to support them to go to Fitchburg State and get a bachelor's degree in special education, and they'll be able to have a reduced tuition rate in addition to a reduced course load because they are currently employed as a Fitchburg Public Schools paraprofessional. And they'll be able to go through this program, and hopefully after 2.5 years, with our support, they'll be able to finish and get a bachelor's degree and then come back and teach for us. So this is just one of the pathways that we're working on with Fitchburg State right now. The special education positions in our district, we're finding, we're having a hard time filling those right now. We have several openings all throughout the district for special education. So that's one of the pathways and incentives that we're putting in place to help, improve the numbers of teachers in our district. We're looking to actually start one right now also for English language learning, ESL, teaching students who do not speak English. We're looking to start a program with Fitchburg State hopefully in the next year for that also, because those are our two hardest positions to hire for right now.
John, could you talk a little bit about what you mentioned to me about the high school and the students getting a vocational education and what's happening with that?
Yeah, so we've been working with Monty Tech for the last 2 years, working with them also with Narragansett Regional in addition to Gardner Public Schools. And we know that there's a lot of students in all our districts who don't get into Monty Tech and really want to go to Monty Tech. And also, we have a lot of students who also want to remain Fitchburg Public School students and don't want to leave our district, right? So we're starting one of the first programs that will be offered during the school day beginning next year to juniors and seniors. They'll be able to actually be Fitchburg Public School students, attend Fitchburg High School 1 week, and they'll get all their core academics. And then the following week, they will go down to the building across the street from the mill, the sandwich shop. They bought, I think, was it Wachusett Brewery, I think, who used to own that?
Across the street from the Wachusett Brewery.
No, we know where the mill is. That big warehouse, I think it used to be owned by Wachusett, and they used to store items there. Well, Monty Tech bought it. We got a grant with Monty Tech. They bought the building, and they renovated. They're renovating the whole building right now to add 2 vocational programs for the fall. It's going to be carpentry, and I always get this wrong, electrical. It's electrical, thank you. Carpentry and electrical. So we have the highest number of spots for Fitchburg. It's 50 right now. It's 50 students, 25 juniors and 25 seniors. And they'll be able to actually start in the fall that program. So we're going to start putting that information out in January to our students to get them signed up. But this is the first program out there right now that actually has this joint collaboration between the vocational schools and the public schools. So I'm really excited to be able to offer that.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Questions from the audience? John or Carrie? Carrie, are you all set, or did you?
I think she has a couple more
couple
slides.
more things
yeah.
you
I
want
think
to-
I might have touched on them, but this is where you can see where our vacancies are, and you can actually sign up. That little arrow has a sign up for email alerts. You can get a weekly list of what our vacancies are, and that's the website that you would go to, fitchburg.tedk.12. Next. I send out a weekly update to all of our staff so they can forward it to anyone they know.
Oh, okay.
And that's just how it looks. And we just posted these. On the left, you can follow us on LinkedIn. We are hiring for substitutes. And we went on Facebook and Instagram. And we are trying to get back out there with a lot of social media and try to get as many people on board as possible. So feel free to share. And I think I did just some of the places that we are out in public. Next.
So one other thing that I just want to lift up is the rate. We've had a lot of discussion the last few days about the rate that I've heard. It's $110 a day right now. So that's for 6.5 hours. It's on a full 8-hour shift, but it's only for 6.5 hours. And I think that breaks down to like 16 something an hour if I did my math right. I actually was recently at a conference, and there was some paraprofessionals there that used to sub for us. And one of the things they brought up is they would still love to be in Fitchburg, but they left because of the substitute pay. So I asked them, I said, what would it get you to come back to Fitchburg and sub for us? And they said, make it $200 a day, and we would have more subs come to Fitchburg to sub. So that's something that, as we go into the next budget season, that I would like to see. One of the really great things is we have this position called the permanent building sub. Every school gets permanent building subs, meaning they come in every day, no matter if we need them or not. And they are actually there every day, and they actually get health insurance compared to just a day-to-day sub. So that's one of the benefits that we have. It's still $110 a day, but we also pay their health insurance benefits. Those positions, I would love to have that when I was going through my bachelor's degree, because it allows you to actually get that experience in the schools. It helps with health insurance, in addition to getting a daily rate of pay instead of being on call. So that's one of the benefits that we have. Not a lot of districts have that. So.
And we are on LinkedIn. A lot of our we've gotten a lot of traction on LinkedIn. A lot more people who are from a little bit further away that wouldn't necessarily end up in Fitchburg have found us on LinkedIn. We've posted a lot of jobs there, and we've actually gotten some good feedback and some traction on that. And then I think the last one is just where I will be at the different recruitment fairs. MERC, Massachusetts Educational Recruiting Consortium, that has been around for a very long time, and it's held down in Boston, and it's very large. And since COVID, the last 2 years, it's grown, so I expect it to be even bigger this year. That's where our students are coming from, all the local universities. And then MPDE will be held, I believe they're going to have it in Cambridge again. That's the Massachusetts Partnership for Diversity in Education. They specifically do outreach for staff of color all over the nation, and we're hoping that that will be bigger and better. And then, as I mentioned, I'm a member of MASPA, and we are going to have a local regional. We haven't decided the date, and that will be all the local university or school districts around here, so that we can definitely get it. I'll be honest, when I'm down in Boston or Cambridge, I don't get too many locals, but every once in a while I do. So I don't miss those opportunities, but I think the local one will be very fruitful. That's it.
I had a question on when you are hiring the 976 persons in the last year and the recruitment level or retention level of 82%. What's kind of you touched on the feedback of, either why they're not taking the job or why we are not keeping them. I was wondering if you could just expand upon that a little. What more can we, as a district or as a city, do to promote people to apply for these jobs and then retain them?
I think it depends on the level of position. We've had a lot of turnover teaching-wise. People didn't get their emergency license renewed, things like that. So there's a little bit of attrition that's just going to naturally happen. Paraprofessionals, I feel like sometimes we have very steady paraprofessionals, and then we have a very transient base of paraprofessionals. It's hard work. It's hard work, and we have to make sure that everyone feels valued. And I feel like in teaching and staffing the schools, it's easy to not stay. And we need to make it better. We need to make sure that they know that they're supported. So now that we have more people in our office and we're looking at our data, I think we're addressing it better. But there's a lot of attrition, especially in special education. Teachers, unfortunately, we just had 2 RBTs moving on. Registered behavioral technicians. So we need to do a lot on our end to make them feel valued. We're going to go into negotiations. There's one way that they feel valued, which is through, their salaries. We need to be competitive, but we also need to know. We need to be able to tell them that we want you here. Yep. And I don't know, and I do think that we've done a much better job in the last few years, but we have a lot of work ahead of us.
So yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off what you said. The biggest thing we hear all the time is the salary of a starting teacher, right? We do compete with Worcester, and they're higher than us. So we're looking at that as we start negotiations this week. How can we actually be competitive, with Worcester? One of the things that I would love to see is a $60,000 starting salary for all teachers. That's really what a lot of places are shooting for right now. We're close. We're about 53 right now. But in the next 3 years, I would really like to make that number at $60,000 so we can attract more people, so they can actually make a decision whether to come to Fitchburg or go to Worcester. That's the biggest piece right now. I would say over the summer, talking to my principals, when they interviewed, our candidates would say, definitely want to come to Fitchburg, definitely love the interview that we had, definitely love the experience that we had when visiting, but I also have an interview in Worcester. And 9 times out of 10, they chose Worcester because of the benefits that they can offer. So salary is a big one.
Benefits or
salary.
Salary.
What we do have,
Because we actually do have excellent benefits, and I've been trying to really market that.
benefits, health insurance wise, yes, all that is perfect. One of the things we have that other districts don't have, which is also a game changer, is tuition reimbursement. That's something, when I was the assistant superintendent, I put in to actually keep our new teachers. So we help teachers up to about $1,400 per year pay for courses. And that actually keeps a lot of teachers here. A lot of districts have removed that from the contract, but we have that in Fitchburg. So that is something that a lot of our new, teachers with only bachelor's degree, when they have to earn that master's in that 5 years, they really appreciate that help. It's a little bit of a help towards a class, but it's better than nothing. Courses are expensive. But it's helpful to them. So that's one of the things that I hear.
Is that with any school, or is that with Fitchburg State University and Mount
Any
Washington?
school, any school, yep, any school. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you expecting a commitment of time after they've gotten their tuition reimbursement? In other words, you need to stay with Fitchburg for 5 years or whatever?
Not right now, we don't have that, but what they do have is they actually have to pass it with a certain grade. So if they don't get a certain grade, we do not pay for it. The other thing too
You
that,
have to be employed. You can't,
so if you do leave, so let's say you took a class in the fall and then by the end of the year you decided to leave us and we paid you for that tuition reimbursement in the fall, you would actually have to pay that back after that first year. And then also if you get is it B or better, correct? B or better, they have to get on in that class for us to actually reimburse them for tuition. The other thing that we've done too is we've tried to improve our new teacher program. So every new member of the Fitchburg Public School teaching force, in addition to veteran teachers or new teachers, they have to have some type of mentoring. So if you're new to the profession, your first year in Fitchburg, you are provided with a year-long mentor, okay? And that mentor is someone in your building that's pretty much on the same grade level or content area as you, and you have to meet with them so many times a month to actually learn how to become a skillful teacher. In addition to that, they also have monthly meetings with our mentor coordinator where they're about 2.5, 3 hours a month where they actually are then getting direct instruction on different teaching moves around pedagogy, around things that they'll experience in their first year as a classroom teacher. So we have that program. In year 2 and year 3, we also pay for all teachers new to Fitchburg, new to teaching, they have to take a course called the Skillful Teacher course, which is basic content and pedagogy of teaching. And that we work with Research for Better Teaching. A guru by the name of John Safier runs Research for Better Teaching. And this is a course that they must take in order to stay employed by the Fitchburg Public Schools.
Is it paid for, John?
It is paid for, and they also can buy the grad credit, which they also can then use that tuition reimbursement for that grad credit.
and one of the things that we need to sell better and market this is every new teacher is required to have a mentor their first year by DESE. So we take that, we do the minimum in the one, we do more than the minimum in the 1 year, and then we add years 2 and 3, which other districts don't do. So other districts, if you're a new teacher, you go in and you get your mentor for the first year, and then that's it. We have, and to John's credit, he's expanded that to years 2 and 3. So your first 3 years of teaching are super hard. And so to have that extra support in those first 3 years, we hope that that also builds a retention rate and gives us better teachers. So there's an extra 2 years of support that other districts don't necessarily do. I don't know if anyone does it.
No.
We have homeless students in the district, John. What steps are we taking to identify if they're more than what we have? We have what, about 3%, 3.5%?
Yeah, I think we have 175, 174 the last time I checked. It's tough. There's not a lot of places for our homeless to live right now. We have some that are in cars, and that we have our home liaisons working to try to get them some type of shelter. So it's tough. I actually have staff members who want to take them home with them and have them sleep in their house if they can't find them a place to stay. It's difficult. What we have is we have a lot of programming for them around nutrition. We have those services. We have hygiene kits. We have, we just got a donation of like 500 plus sneakers for them. We have winter coats. We have backpacks. So we have the basic needs, but not the shelter for them. And that's a global situation that's happening everywhere in Massachusetts.
What can we do as a city to help these children? Because they're going to have a very difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the
Shelter.
answer is for shelter.
Yeah.
I don't. Switchy, yeah.
Who is this home liaison person, and is that the individual who determines who's going to go into the new shelter for microfamilies?
That's not us. We don't make that decision. That's, I think, at the... Oh, no, she provides them with the supports to get the contacts to these people, the different agencies, the different resources.
Is this the person who's generating your number?
So that's what we have right now. So Luisa Fernandez. Luisa Fernandez is our home liaison contact at our district level. So when students enroll, when they identify in enrollment that they need supports, they go to Luisa, whose office is right next to them, and then she sets them up with the different connections within the city. We don't necessarily provide them with the shelter or anything like that. We connect them with the people in the city or the organizations that will then support them to get hooked up in the city or locally for what they need. Yeah.
I'm saying, who generates the number? Who calculates that we went from 250 to 170 of homeless children?
So it's what they identify when they come in. Yeah.
The number just recently changed. We just heard that it was 250 like a week ago, and now all of a sudden it's 170.
Oh, okay.
So the recreation department was representing it was over 200 just last
Okay.
week.
All right.
And now all of a sudden the number's 170. I'm just trying to find out how that number is actually generated and who
Yeah.
is responsible for generating it.
So
it's flexible.
Yes. So when they come and enroll with us, we ask them and they disclose to us. That's how we generate. These are new enrollments. Yep. I wouldn't say the month. I would say this school year.
How many
So
enrollments have we had this month?
this month, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can look. I wouldn't be able to give you a name. I can look right now. I have that data. Yeah.
We have a McKinley Vento coordinator
Right.
that takes those numbers and reports that to DESI.
Well,
Correct,
I'm just asking
yeah,
for us right
yeah,
now, so we could
yeah.
just see what the influx in our school system is. Because that's really the question at hand.
Yeah.
Are we receiving a lot of students recently? And
Yeah.
are we expecting new students in the near future?
Yeah.
I think that's the question we're all looking for an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, when we're thinking about the migrant students that are being placed in cities, like I live in Westminster, that just happened, back in October, I think. Right now, that has not been brought to my office that we are getting a large influx of migrant families into Fitchburg. That has not come across my desk yet. So what I was told, in which they said that this was supposed to happen, I will be given at least a 3 to 4 day notice if this is going to happen. I've asked them, I've asked our local officials, am I going to be expecting this? Is this going to happen?
When you say local officials, who are you asking?
Mr. Kushmarek, Mr. Cronin, I've asked them, is this going to happen in Fitchburg? They said, right now, we don't know. But it could. And, and this is the process that's happened to other communities. We have no place to place them right now in Fitchburg. What I'm being told is that a lot of the towns that are being identified are the ones that have hotels or motels that aren't being used. I don't think we have that in Fitchburg right now, right? So that has not come across my desk at all, that we're getting a large number of migrant students or families into the city of Fitchburg. So, yep, absolutely, yep.
You told me that we do have some migrant students here. Are we receiving $105 or $110 per day per student to help us with this?
So that is a new number that they just came out with, correct, recently, the 105. So I can tell you right now, excuse me, let me pull this up. I have to go into my email. I can tell you to date, and these are migrant students, these are immigrant students, these are students who actually come to Fitchburg.
You believe they're non-English speaking?
They are not, yeah.
So they'll need additional service?
Correct. Yep. Yes. I can give you, if you give me 1 second, I have a breakdown. So as of today, now these are not, when we talk about what's happening with, for example, Westminster, right? They showed up, I think there was 40 families, I think, in Westminster, and several students that went to their public schools. Fitchburg has always been a city that has welcomed immigrants. We've always had people that have come to Fitchburg, whether looking for their own shelter, looking for, an apartment, looking for, maybe doubling up with a family member or a friend that's already here. Okay, so we have these. This has always been Fitchburg and who we have. Yeah.
But it would be unfair to say that currently we are not facing an influx of migrants in our state and in our communities surrounding us. To say that we're encompassing and warming, I appreciate
Yeah,
it. I think
yeah,
Fitchburg
yeah.
is. But to just put it like it's always happened, no, this is something different,
Yeah.
and it's coming in vast numbers, and cities aren't able to handle it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep.
affecting the student who goes to school and doesn't get the service. The mother who bought a house here, her daughter doesn't get the special services because we're now hiring people to translate different languages. So it does affect our students. Please don't minimize that. Please accept that that does happen in our schools and our parents are worried. So address it efficiently like it's happening, and I think we'll all feel better. 'Cause it
Okay.
is.
So, as long as I've been here now for 14 years, we've always had English language learners in our schools, right? We always had them, right? Have we increased over the last, since I started here 14 years, at least 2 or 3% every year? We have. But have we been given a large number, like 110 new students all at once that have showed up without notice? We have not. That has not happened.
What would you do if that happened?
We had that large influx with the Puerto Rico storm.
Yes, the hurricane, yep.
So we have
did.
some experience.
Yep,
And what
yep.
did we do?
We looked at our current numbers in our district, and we looked at where we could support them and place them that would best meet their needs based on the current numbers that we have.
So tell a parent today that if a child goes in the school who you don't know, shows up here, can't speak English, are they sitting in the classroom next to them, or are they being taught English so that they can communicate with everybody?
So it's a little bit of both. So if they're new to the United States and they have not any language, they will be receiving pull-out services for at least an hour and a half a day to actually teach them English. So that will happen. So they'll be pulled out with an ESL teacher getting direct services in ESL. They also then will be back in the classroom because that's the model and what the law says that we have to do. We have to educate them also in the classroom. And then we have to provide modifications to what we do to support them.
What is the cost of the modifications and the pull-out?
The cost is just something that we do. I mean, it's based on the ESL teachers' experience and our classroom teachers' experience. So all our classroom teachers are trained in ESL. So they all have to take Sheltered English Immersion class that supports them in how to teach students that are second language students.
Now we're focusing on this 110 if we had an influx. If the influx came, what would be the additional burden to the school system? Would you lose 5 teachers that currently do that? Or how many additional teachers would be drawn away to take these children to now help them integrate with us? Because that's what we all want them to do, is
Yep.
integrate, right?
Yep.
That's the goal.
Yep.
But if we put them in a classroom and they don't understand what we're talking about, it's not really helping people. And I agree we need to teach them, but what I'm saying, it's got to be a burden on the school system. It has to be.
It's an issue that will require us to work collaboratively together. It is. It's not.
Go into the state people and ask them, are they going to send people or are they going to help?
This is an issue, so I'm a part of the Urban Superintendents Network. So each month I meet with all the urban superintendents who are facing this issue. And these are the conversations that we have. And what we're being told by our Commissioner of Education, that this is because we are what is it called? A right to shelter state? Is that what we are? Because of that, we have to follow the law. And he understands that it is difficult, but this is what we have to do. That's what we were told.
And I agree with all that, but I guess I'm looking at the actual reaction from the administration and how are we going to make everybody feel better, and the kids that are in the school. I guess, do you have something in your mind of how to function if this happens?
Well, you know, currently we are lucky because we do have the structures in our system right now. We are a district that has several ESL teachers in all our buildings. That's the main piece, right? We'll have to teach those students in the English language, right? So one of the things that we were fortunate enough is we are a district that is a benefactor of the Student Opportunity Act. So we are provided with at least, because over the next 6 years, we've been getting at least $7 to $8 million every year towards our Chapter 70 allotment. Because of that, every district could choose 3 strategies that they wanted to focus on. Fitchburg's strategy was to improve our education for our special education students in addition to our ESL students. So because of that, we were able, over the last 3 years, Carrie, add an additional amount of ESL teachers in every building. So the numbers are smaller. So right now, Fitchburg could handle an influx of students because we have these trained professionals in our schools. I can't say that right now for our neighboring communities that haven't been benefiting from the SOA. I don't think they can't say that because they don't have that opportunity and that structure in their schools right now. So we're fortunate right now that we do have the trained professionals in our buildings to support that. That being said, how many? That will be something that we'll have to look at. If it's more than 110 or 150, I mean, that's something we'd have to look at right now.
I'm not looking at public schools, how we are filled capacity, primary, secondary, whatever.
Yeah.
But could we absorb more in one level than another? Or are we full more primary students right now or secondary? Where are we in that capacity? That's a
great question. So right now, our class sizes are small in like kindergarten. So in the kindergarten level, we can absorb that right now. It gets a little tricky in certain grade levels. Right now, off the top of my head, I think the second grade and the 5th grade, we're in about 400 total enrollment for all our schools. As you all know, we're in the midst of building a new school, Crocker Elementary School. Because we're building a school right now, I actually did close down, the former superintendent closed down, it's the back door. The former superintendent, with a recommendation from with the school committee, we closed down school choice this year. So we are not accepting any school choice, any other students coming into the district K to 8. So in the past, we would allow anyone that wanted to come to Fitchburg Public Schools, they could come in and register to come to Fitchburg Public Schools. We're not doing that right now. So K to 8, we'd have no school choice. Right now, we do have school choice open 9 to 12. Right now, it would be feasible that we could absorb a little, I would say we could probably, about 100 to 150 students would be probably doable, depending on what grade level they are. Some grade levels would be more challenging, but it would be difficult to do that. Class sizes would increase by 2 or 3 students.
And what's that current class size now? Primary?
Yeah, so anyway, so right now our K numbers are about 18, which is secondary. Anywhere depending on the class. We do have small numbers at the middle school level that are maybe 11 or 12, depending on the class. Other classes are up to about 20 to 25. Reasonable, yeah. We're good with class size right now. Yep.
John, could you talk a little bit about the security of the schools? Schools are soft targets all over the country. I know you talked about having the doors alarmed, having security systems in place. Could you talk a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
so we are using some of our ESSER funds that we received from the government, in addition to grants that we applied to harden all our schools. So right now, we are in the process of getting all new camera systems for all our buildings, in addition to, the swipe cards for staff to get into the door. In addition, right now, we just put in systems where anyone who comes into a school, if you're picking up your child, if you're visiting, if you're from an outside organization coming in to do something with the Fitchburg Public Schools, you actually have to come in and scan your ID. And when you scan that ID, your, lack of a better term, your record comes up and allows us to know if you're able to actually come into the school or not. So that is something new that we're doing this year for the first time. I would say that system works pretty well. We actually had a DCF person from the Department of Children and Families come in to check on one of the students. And when they scanned their ID, it came up with red flags. And I said, and they called me immediately, we've never seen this before. This person is working for the Department of Children and Families. Why is this person's ID coming back with all these issues? So come to find out, this person was actually, their identity was stolen. And they had someone racking up hundreds of issues on their credit card, going out and, performing these crimes. So that system actually was able to alert us. So that system's hardened to all the databases, and we get that information right away.
I guess the question I get often is, are the doors secure where the staff is not going to go out a door and leave it open, or that type of thing? Has that been remedied?
So that's something that we continue to work on. I'm not going to lie. We're replacing all our door locks right now. I think 2 of our schools have all their doors replaced, their door locks replaced. We're starting to move to all our schools right now to replace those door locks. We actually, as administrators, we talk about this all the time. We have to make sure our doors are shut. And that happens a lot at the elementary level. Like, you go outside for recess, and the door doesn't automatically shut all the way, or someone pegs the door open so the class can move through the line, and then the person at the end forgets to check the door and make sure it's shut. So we have to make sure and remind constantly our educators, you have to check and make sure the doors are shut. And if the teacher, that doesn't happen, we have to have conversations with them and hold them accountable, because safety is everyone's job, right? The other thing that we're also doing, too, is we're just in the midst of an update of all our phone systems in the building. So we'll have all new phone systems throughout all our schools.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? We have a little bit of time left. I did have a question. We also talked about air conditioning in the schools, and what your future plans might be if we air condition the schools.
Yeah, so that's been an interesting topic. So when I first started in June this past year, one of the things that came up was air conditioning in our school systems, specifically at Crocker. So we're building a new school, and they actually valued engineered the air conditioner out, meaning they took it out of the project. So immediately we went back and I said, this is something that we have to look at as a committee, because how do you build a school in 2023 without air conditioning? So we were able actually to look at the cost of it, and we were actually some other numbers came in lower, so we were actually able to add air conditioner back in. In addition to that, we're actually looking at all the HVAC systems in our district, and we're looking to actually add heat pumps, and a combination of VRF systems to our schools, a little bit of combination of both, to actually make sure we actually have appropriate cool climates for our kids. It's going to be a project that's going to require some additional support by the city, but we're looking forward to actually starting this work at some of our schools, hopefully in the next couple months. So,
Thank you, John. Could we have, Cecile hasn't asked the question yet, and then Jackie.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the depth of your knowledge of the Fitchburg Public School system. You're right on top of the questions that have been presented. My specific interest is pre-K through 3. I'm an early childhood specialist, and at some point in time I'd like to meet with you to discuss schedule and curriculum.
Awesome, great.
What do you
Yeah,
have?
one of the
Yeah.
things, one of the things that I would really love to look at is preschool. I think we really have an opportunity here in Fitchburg to look at, can we provide universal preschool to all the community? I'd like to actually work on that in my tenure as superintendent here. That's something that I'd like to see happen.
Thank you, John. Jacqueline?
Was a former employee of mine when I owned a child care center.
Okay.
So you have somebody in place with a lot of knowledge and skill already.
Switch.
So I understand that due to a student initiative, Long as Joe now has green space, so that every school has green space.
Trying to.
And I would like to encourage you to use that existing green space for any type of agricultural education.
Yeah.
Counselor Schultz asked about security, and you've got all the security to get into the school building, but it's being proposed that agricultural education be done up at a site on Sheldon Road by an organization called World Farmers, and when they appeared before the council, they said they would not do any sort of background checks on the farmers there, and I think that's concerning.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if we had our students up there, working up there, that would be a concern. We have to make sure our students are safe. We're looking forward to hopefully creating that green space in the next year for our Longs Joe students. We're working on hopefully purchasing another piece of land right there near Longs Joe, so we can actually have, if you're looking at Longs Joe from the stairs, the house is on the right. We own a lot right now. We're in the midst of hopefully buying the white home that's there. It's an apartment building. And then there's another lot that we would like to purchase from a local resident in Fitchburg, so we can actually take that whole space and create that space for everyone. I think it would be great for that neighborhood.
It would be.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we're running out of time. Our school committee's going to meet soon, and they've got to rearrange everything. So I'll just thank everyone for coming and all your questions, and thank you, John and Carrie, for your great presentation and your answering of the questions. Our next Ward 1 meeting will be held on Monday, January 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Presenters to be announced, and happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
So for anyone out